Hello, and welcome to this weekly roundup of key events seen through the lens of the European press. While politicians make official statements, newspapers in London, Rome, and Stockholm read between the lines. In this episode, the Iranian deadlock, a new Mr. Veto in Europe, 90 billion euros for Ukraine, and how drones are changing the logic of war. Iran. Just one day before the ultimatum expired, Donald Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran indefinitely. According to him, the move came at Pakistan's request and will remain in place until Tehran is ready to negotiate. Iran has already rejected the proposed meeting date, and no final decision has been made. European newspapers are skeptical. Italy's La Stampa puts it bluntly: this is not a shift from war to peace, but a ceasefire that merely delays war. Negotiations are taking place alongside military pressure. Ships are being seized, airstrike threats are being issued, and the Strait of Hormuz remains under strain. London's Financial Times sees a familiar pattern. Both sides are negotiating and preparing for escalation at the same time. Washington and Tehran both believe the other will give in first, which means the coming weeks are likely to bring alternating phases of diplomacy and pressure. Sweden's Svenska Dagbladet adds that the White House decision is shaped not only by foreign policy, but also by domestic factors: rising fuel prices and an election season approaching. The administration is not looking for peace so much as a result it can present as a victory. Turkey's Daily Sabah points to the key paradox. The ceasefire allows both sides to claim victory, and that does not create space for compromise, it removes it. And Sweden's Dagens Nyheter goes even further, arguing that Tehran simply does not respond to pressure the way Washington expects. The strategy of relying on the humanitarian impact of sanctions does not work against a regime that is indifferent to the suffering of its own population, and that can see America is not ready for full-scale escalation. The European commentators reach the same conclusion. There is no breakthrough here. There is only a new reality, a conflict in which diplomacy and pressure move forward at the same time, while peace remains distant. Bulgaria. Last week, Bulgaria held early parliamentary elections, the 8th in 5 years. This time, the result was clear. A center-left alliance led by former President Rumen Radev won around 45% of the vote, while the party of former Prime Minister Boyko Borisov took just 13%. Brussels is uneasy. Italy's La Repubblica warns that Bulgaria could become a new thorn inside the European Union, even a kind of fifth column for Moscow. Radev is skeptical of sanctions and speaks of pragmatic relations with Russia. Denmark's Politiken openly warns of geopolitical crises inside the EU if Sofia begins blocking decisions on Ukraine. Not everyone is sounding the alarm, though. Poland's Rzeczpospolita says Radev may turn out to be a toothless Orban, without the real leverage to shake the European Union. France's Le Point stresses that he has no anti-democratic project and is promising reforms rather than dismantling the system. The overall message in the European press is this: Bulgaria is not changing its strategic direction, it is changing its style. Another skeptical voice is emerging inside the Union, and observers see this slow erosion of unity from within as the real outcome of the election. Ukraine, credit and drones. Last week, the European Union unlocked a €90 billion credit package for Ukraine. The key to the deal was Hungary, which lifted its block after oil flows through the Druzhba pipeline resumed. Switzerland's Weltwoche notes a strange coincidence. Oil started flowing again almost immediately after Orban's election defeat. The paper suggests, somewhat ironically, that the miraculous repair of the infrastructure may not be entirely accidental. Slovakia's Deník Postoj offers a more pragmatic explanation. Ukraine may have deliberately delayed repairs, knowing that transit through the pipeline was effectively financing the Russian economy. On April 23rd, EU leaders in Cyprus formally approved the credit. Zelensky welcomed the decision and once again called for faster EU accession for Ukraine. Austria's Der Standard suggests a more radical future solution, covering the costs with frozen Russian assets. In its view, that would solve the financing problem for years. At the same time, Der Standard highlights another turning point: on the battlefield. Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine has effectively stalled. The reason is the massive use of Ukrainian drones, which are striking not only the front line, but also warehouses and logistics deep inside Russian territory. Commentators are now talking not just about tactics, but about a change in the logic of war itself. Cheap drones make conventional offensives extremely costly. Moscow, it seems, overestimated its own capabilities and is now looking for an exit strategy. Hungary and the EU. The European Court has ruled that Hungary's 2021 law restricting information about LGBT people to minors is discriminatory. Sweden's Sydsvenskan points out that the European Union is increasingly becoming not just a union of economic rules, but also of binding values. Hungary's HVG adds the practical side. Because of this law, Budapest is now unable to receive hundreds of millions of euros from European funds. The fight over minority rights has become a financial issue as well. This was this week's roundup of events seen through the eyes of the European press. If you found this episode useful, please like and subscribe. All ways to support the project are in the video description.